All right. So first, I want to thank our title sponsor. So thank you to Nebraska Cancer Specialists for sponsoring all of our Create Your Best Life events, including this session today. Nebraska Cancer Specialists are a proud supporter of A Time to Heal. Together, we are committed to providing exceptional care and continuing support for patients, families, and caregivers. For more information on Nebraska Cancer Specialists, visit nebraskacancer.com. So today, again, is Healthy Nutrition for Cancer Survivors. Today, we have Dr. Jeannie Hannan joining us. Dr. Jeannie Hannan is a 16-year breast cancer survivor with a passion for wellness. She's an associate professor and program director at Nebraska Methodist College, as well as a lifestyle coach, and owns her own wellness company as well. But first, we are going to hand it over to our executive director of A Time to Heal. Brenda Helgett is going to answer just a couple of questions before she heads out for today. So thank you so much to Jeannie and Brenda.
Thank you, Emma. Thank all of you for coming today, and we really appreciate you being here. And again, I just want to echo giving our thanks to Nebraska Cancer Specialists for their sponsorship. They all of our donors help keep all of these programs free for our cancer survivors. So every gift makes a difference, no matter what the size. And if you're able to make a little donation to A Time to Heal, we greatly appreciate it. We are 100% donor funded. We don't receive any state or federal funding. So thank you for that. And I just wanted to, first of all, echo all of Jeannie's wonderful credentials. I'm lucky enough to be a friend of Jeannie's. Jeannie helped me through my breast cancer journey. She was a very great help to me. And so when we started talking about this topic, because I know it's an important topic for all of you. It is for me as well, being a cancer survivor. I'm always trying to do better, and especially with nutrition. And so Jeannie and I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago about this topic, and Jeannie was telling me about some of the research she's done, which she's going to share with you today. And she's kind of going down a list of different, superfoods, really, such as kale. And I said, oh, I don't know. I don't think I can do kale. And she says, well, what do you like? Well, what about hummus? Oh no, yuck, hummus, gross, yuck. I don't like hummus. And she's like, okay. She's so patient. And she's like, well, there's tomatoes and things. Oh no, I don't like. It really makes me sound like I'm terrible. Like I was a terrible child to my mother. But the reality is I don't eat enough vegetables, and I knew that. So what I did was I wanted to try something to really kind of get me out of my comfort zone. So I signed up, and this is not a commercial. You don't have to do this, but I signed up for Green Chef. And that is one of those prepackaged meal things that comes to your door. I order 3 meals a week, and I said to myself, all right, I'm going to make one of my meals every week. It's going to be vegan or vegetarian because I want to do more plant-based. And of course, the first meal I get, it has kale in it, right? And I'm like, oh no, and hummus and tomatoes. It's like all the things. And I kind of just took a deep breath and I said, you know what? I'm just going to trust the process and I'm going to do this. And it was like little flatbreads, and then you spread some hummus on them and put some kale on them, some tomato. Oh, it's delicious. And some dates, some chopped up dates. It was a little feta. It was incredible. And in fact, I remember as I was making them, I cautiously stuck my finger in the hummus and I tasted it. And I went, yummy. This is yummy. I haven't tasted this for a few. What's happened? I don't know. This is great. So long story short, I'm eating kale now almost daily. I incorporated it into my meals almost daily. It's delicious. There's lots of different ways you can cook it. You can use the air fryer. Jeannie will tell you about all these different things you can do with it. But what I wanted to share that with all of you. So if you're thinking in your head, no, I can't, try it. I do think our tastes change over time.
No,
And so,
don't eat. No.
no. um, So I do think they do sometimes change over time, and or you know what else I think? I think if you chop anything small enough, you can get away with it, and maybe it's not such a bold taste in your mouth, and it's not, say, offensive to you or whatever. But I have had a wonderful journey learning about these new different foods and really enjoying them. And I am doing more and more plant-based meals, just not even really thinking about it. It's just what I enjoy. So I just wanted to share that with all of you. So all of you are here, I know, today with an open mind, and with that we can get started.
Okay, well, and we're going to do something a little bit backwards because Brenda has to go, but people submitted some questions ahead of time, and I just need to let all of you know I am not a dietitian. So as a professional, I have to be very careful about I can give you education, I can guide you to the research that's out there, I can send you to some resources, but I cannot prescribe, I can't assess your diet and give you a meal plan. And so one of the questions that came in was, when food doesn't taste good anymore, or you aren't hungry or you're nauseous, what do you recommend someone doing for nutrients? So one of the recommendations I have, and we're going to look a little bit at this website, but the American Institute of Cancer Research, their website has a spot specifically for basically that hits this question. So what if you're malnourished or whatever? So that's one place I would send you. And then also, if you are actively going through treatment, or you have gone through treatment and your cancer center has a dietitian, tap into those dietitians. They're awesome. I remember calling one of the dietitians when I was going through my treatment, and when I had the side effect of nothing tasted good, you couldn't even taste anything. And I called her and I'm like, Shandy, help. So that's one thing, but Brenda had some tips on that too. So
Yeah, and thank you so much,
Hey, Brenda.
Jeannie. Yes.
I'm sorry, real quick. Anyone who's not asking a question, could we please ask you to just mute, just so that we're not getting any background noise? I want to make sure that everybody can hear Jeannie and Brenda talking. So just make sure, if you're not actively answering a question, maybe just mute, just so that we can all hear everybody. Thank you so much. Sorry, Brenda.
Thanks. No, that's okay. Yeah, sometimes this is even a slight background noise will come through. So just hit that mute button, and you can come off mute when you have a question. So we're talking about nausea and when things taste bad. And for me, I probably was right at the very tippy top of how bad that could be. I was very, very nauseated. Water tasted like metal to me. It was just horrible. Everything was really, really, really horrible. What I would suggest, if you're at that level, is you can only do what you can do. And maybe it's not so much about even getting nutrients in, it's just making sure you get something in your body that you can tolerate. And because sometimes that's better than nothing. Ginger is something that's known to kind of calm the tummy down a little bit. So a little bit of ginger ale. Don't be afraid to dilute it if you need to. But ginger ale is a good one. Ginger snap cookies. I didn't like ginger ale because the carbonation bothers me a little bit. So ginger snap cookies was kind of what it did for me. And sometimes I just kind of just suck on them and not really eat them. But it helped calm my stomach down a little bit. And again, sometimes your body will tell you what it can tolerate, what it couldn't. At one point, strangely, I could tolerate vanilla bean yogurt, like a frozen yogurt. Why? I don't know, but that was something I could tolerate. There's also a spray that you can buy that helps with nausea. Now, I have a bit of brain fog setting in, but I will get that. We'll put that in a follow-up email. It is a wonderful spray that just helps you feel less nauseated. It works well. It really works well if you're being really good and wearing your mask in very high traffic places. Spray a little bit of that inside the mask, so you're kind of getting that smell, and that helps tamper that down a little bit. Also, and Jeannie, you're gonna have to help me here. What is the name of the drink that they give to folks? Oh gosh, do you know what I'm talking about? Like, and if you need some nutritional help and you're older.
Oh, like Ensure?
Thank you, Ensure. And again, if you have to dilute it, it's better than nothing. Because sometimes that's what you have to do. With water, I found if I did a little tiny bit of Crystal Light, any flavor that appeals to you, and I couldn't do it at full strength, I just would add a little bit of something so I could drink water, because that is so important to make sure you stay hydrated. And the final thing I will tell you is a lot of folks that, in my experience, certainly, if you're having really a lot of trouble with nausea, a lot of times it's because you are dehydrated. And so maybe try to address that as well first, so that you can get past that nausea. Also, the brat diet that works for little children: bananas, rice, applesauce, toast. Those are some mild things that you could eat. Hopefully that will, I know it helped me. So that's all I have for suggestions, but that's what really helped me. And especially like I said, the spray you can get, just kind of helps tamper that down a little bit. Those are my suggestions to everybody, but you're going to get a lot of great information today from Jeannie. So I'll let you guys go ahead, and I got to get back to my garage sale. So
Thank you. Good luck with your garage sale.
thank you.
Okay. Just so we got most of this about me, the extra things that were not in my bio is I have a plant-based nutrition certificate through eCornell Centers for Nutrition Studies. I'm a national board certified health and wellness coach, and a certified American College of Lifestyle Medicine professional. And again, I do want to point out I am not a dietitian, so I have a disclaimer that the information in this presentation is provided for general information, educational purposes only. It is not meant to substitute medical or dietetic advice. All right, so you might ask, what is a lifestyle medicine professional? And I'm not going to totally read this to you, but lifestyle medicine is actually a medical specialty where we use therapeutic lifestyle interventions to prevent, treat, and then sometimes reverse chronic conditions. And there are 6 pillars to lifestyle medicine. One is nutrition, which is a whole food, plant predominant eating pattern. Physical activity, restorative sleep, stress management, avoidance of risky substances, and positive social connections. And there are various levels to certification through lifestyle medicine. So physicians are certified through the American Board of Lifestyle Medicine, and then professionals like me, I'm called a lifestyle medicine certified lifestyle medicine professional, certified through the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. And then there are also practitioners levels, and we all take the same test. The physicians actually have more questions than I did. Like, I think they get 30 more questions on their exam, but just to tell you what that is, quickly, our objectives, we'll review some of the research that's out there related to nutrition and cancer survivors. We'll talk about kind of define a plant-based diet, and then we'll explore some benefits of a plant-based diet for cancer survivors. And I kind of have these all meshed together, and I'll show you as we go. So, and we will have, you can type this in the chat, myth or fact. Around 40% of cancer cases can be prevented. Is that a myth or a fact?
We're gonna go with myth.
Okay. Sorry,
Or saying fact.
It's actually a fact. Yes.
Oh, Jane, you're right. Fact.
So the American Institute of Cancer Research says that approximately 42% of cancer cases are lifestyle related. are related to lifestyle factors, and 45% of cancer deaths are related to lifestyle factors. So with that in mind, we actually have some superpowers. In our fork, we have superpowers, what we put, what we eat. But say, and actually the other lifestyle factors as well, they all play together. But we're talking about nutrition because it is one of the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. Nutrition, if you're going to do any of them alone, nutrition is one that can make a big impact. But with all of this being said, I don't want any of us who are cancer survivors to be like, oh my God, I call this my cancer. And you know what? No, we don't necessarily have that much power. And I'm not saying this to make any of us feel that way. I'm saying this to give us some power, give us some power that we can do things to lower our risks for reoccurrence, or for those who haven't had cancer, they can do things to lower their risk of getting cancer. Does that mean that we're not going to get it, or we're not going to get a recurrence? Not necessarily, but we can do the things there are things we can do to lower our risk. Okay, so the American Institute of Cancer Research and the World Cancer Research Fund, they carry out some of the world's largest and most authoritative, up-to-date sources of scientific research on cancer prevention, survivorship through diet, nutrition, and physical activity. And their recommendations are only based on the latest research that has strong evidence linking it to cancer. So I highly believe in their recommendations because they look at the research and very deeply and know what they're doing. So their 10 recommendations are to maintain a healthy weight, be physically active, eat whole grains, veggies, fruits, and beans, limit your fast foods, limit red and processed meat, limit sugar sweetened drinks, limit alcohol consumption, don't use supplements to prevent the cancer. So they're saying get it from your food, and then breastfeed your baby if you can, and after diagnosis, follow these recommendations. And the ones over here, 3, 4, and 5, those are the main ones that we're going to look at today. All right, so recommendation 3, they eat a diet rich in whole grains, vegetables, fruits, and beans. And so they say make whole grains, vegetables, fruits, legumes, such as beans, lentils, and a major part of your daily diet. And then their goals over here, we're going to kind of go into those a little bit deeper. So that first one, consume a diet that provides at least 30 grams of fiber food sources, or fiber from food sources. So food sources, not your mix, not your Metamucil mix, but through food. And this was so some of these studies that I tried to look at some of the research that's happened since 2018, because the AICR World Cancer Research Fund recommendations were 2018. So this was a series of systematic reviews and meta-analysis. And what they looked at here, or what they found here, was that the highest dietary fiber consumers versus lowest. So those that ate more fiber had a 15 to 30% reduction in mortality, all-cause mortality, and cardiovascular mortality. So mortality is death. And also lower incidence of coronary heart disease, stroke incidence, type 2 diabetes, and colorectal cancer. And when they say how much fiber was that, these people were eating 25 to 29 grams of fiber per day. But they also found that with more fiber, you even have a greater benefit to protect against things like cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and colorectal and breast cancer. So the American Institute of Cancer Research, those recommendations, their recommendation is 30 grams of fiber a day. And so if we look at, people often think that protein is the nutrient that people are lacking in. It's actually fiber. 97% of Americans do not meet the recommendations for fiber. 97%. That is most everybody. The average American only eats 18 grams of fiber per day. And again, the recommendation from AICR is 30 grams. And then some of the lifestyle medicine recommendations, they split it out into women of 25 grams, at least 25 grams per day, but you have more benefits if you eat 40 grams per day. Men, 38 grams per day minimum, at least, and greater benefits if you eat 45 grams per day. And then the American Institute of Cancer Research also says there's very strong evidence for colon cancer, and that for every 10 grams of fiber, you're reducing your risk of colon cancer by 7%. And guess what? Fiber is only found in plants. It is not in animals, only in plants. So we're going to do a little test here. How many grams, and again, just type it in the chat. How many grams of fiber do you think are in a half a cup of black beans?
All right, I have a B or a C. A couple people saying C.
Okay. And those that said C are correct. So it's 7.7 grams. Yes, 7.7 grams there. I thought I had something else on these. Okay, what about a half a cup of broccoli?
I have a B or a C again.
Okay.
Couple B's.
All right, and B is correct. Good
All
job.
Right,
Okay, what about 1 cup of blueberries?
A. Seems like a few people are saying A.
Yep.
That would have been my guess too.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. And so, and when we talk about foods that have high fiber, that is usually 5 grams or more. The other foods that are considered to be high fiber: beans, split peas, lentils, avocados, bran cereals, raspberries, blackberries, pears, papaya, dried fruit, flax seeds, and then some whole grains and some whole wheat pastas. And then moderate fiber is 1.25 grams to 5 grams per serving. And some of those foods are blueberries, strawberries, most fruit, most other fruits, most vegetables, most grains, most whole grain bread, popcorn, mushrooms, nuts, and seeds. So there are a lot of places we can get some good fiber. And then this is just through the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. They kind of just lay out some examples of how can you get that much fiber in a day. And so here are just some great, like half a cup of split peas, 8 grams of fiber. Lentils, 7.8 grams. Black beans, you can make black bean brownies. Did you know that? Like, here's a really good cheat recipe, and it's used. You can take a brownie mix and just put a can of black beans with it, mix it up. That's it. Put nothing else, no oil, no nothing, and it's delicious. You're getting some fiber in your and some protein, actually, because beans are actually high in protein as well. So, and then there's other a lot of other recipes out there too that you can find. So these are just some things that are good sources of fiber. And then here's some other examples. So this other example here of how to eat 50 grams of fiber a day. They just show like some oatmeal with some fruit, some snacks that are fruit, have lentils for lunch, snacks that are a little bit of salad and fruit, dinner, some rice and beans, and snack your avocados. And then these books, if you really want some great information about fiber, Dr. Will Bolsowitz is a GI doc, and he's got this first book, Fiber Fueled, was his original book. And then he has this cookbook. And the cookbook, if you have food sensitivities and things, he actually talks about how to determine what you're really sensitive to. And then also the important thing that he mentions is to increase your fiber gradually. So if you're eating 15 grams of fiber right now, you don't want to go from 15 to 50 right away, because you might not feel so good. So you want to do that gradually. Maybe go from 15 to 20 grams, do that for a few days or so, and then, or a week, and increase it up. So his books, I highly recommend them. Okay, the other goals on that slide for the recommendations are include in most meals foods containing whole grains, non-starchy vegetables, fruits and pulses such as beans and lentils. Eat a diet high in all types of plant foods, including at least 5 portions of a variety of non-starchy vegetables and fruit every day. And if you eat starch, roots, and tubers as staple foods, eat non-starchies with it, and fruits and legumes regularly too. So eat the rainbow. If you've heard that, and that is where you're really gonna, if you eat a rainbow of plant foods, you're going to get the nutrients that you need. And some of these that I just want to point out, like the red foods have lycopene, tomatoes, watermelon, red peppers, and they say here that it reduces breast and prostate cancer risks. Beta carotene, the orange foods, carrots, your pumpkin, sweet potatoes, they can also fight cancer risk, reduce inflammation. Vitamin C, your yellow foods, and oranges or in their citrus fruit foods can inhibit tumor cell growth. Folate, and so those green vegetables contain folate and calcium. And actually, one of the conversations that Brenda and I had, and this is something I learned when I was studying for my lifestyle medicine exam, was that calcium kale is one of the best sources of calcium. We actually absorb 40 to 60% of the calcium in kale, where in actually dairy, we only consume like 30 to 40% of the calcium in dairy. And then also, so when you're looking at your greens though, like spinach is very high in calcium, but it's high in oxidate and we don't absorb as much of that. So you want to look for the low oxidate greens like kale. I believe collard greens are one of those. Sorry, I should have probably made a list, but that is just a fun fact. We absorb more calcium from those greens than most people think we need dairy for calcium. And then you may have heard of like, oh wait, I'm sorry. I got off here too. So I guess I don't know what color to call those, more those other cruciferous vegetables can eliminate excess estrogen and carcinogens in our bodies. The purples, the anthocyanins, they can destroy free radicals, reduce inflammation. The kind of pinky, like the red raspberries have resveratrol in them and can decrease estrogen production. And then of course the fiber that we talked about is so good for us. All right, so when we look at whole grains, this is a 2019 research article that I found that is a series of systematic reviews. And what they found here, again, was those that ate had higher intakes of whole grains, so 13 to 33%. They had a 13 to 33% reduction in risk of all critical outcomes that were measured that were looked at in this study, which was mortality from all-cause coronary heart disease, stroke, and then incidence, the numbers of incidence in coronary heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and again, here we go, colorectal cancer. And so when we're saying whole grains, what do you want to look for? Well, on your label, you want to look for whole grain under the ingredients. So for example, you'll see a lot of wheat breads. That doesn't mean they're whole grain. If it doesn't say whole wheat, that's not whole grain. So you want to look at whole grain on your label under your ingredients. Some examples: whole grain oats, brown rice, whole wheat, barley, rye. All right. And so when we're talking about whole grains and cancer risk, so whole grains can lower cancer risk by reducing inflammation, preventing insulin resistance, increasing the speed of time. Reducing the speed of time. No. increasing the speed of time that carcinogens go through our gut, reducing the time that they're in our gut. And then there's strong evidence that 90 grams or 3 servings of whole grains a day can reduce our risk of colorectal colon cancer by 17%. Here's some examples of what a serving is. One slice of 100% whole grain bread, a half a cup of cooked brown rice, 3 cups of popcorn, or a 6-inch corn tortilla. And then back to those recommendations for whole grains, include them in most meals. And I guess I had the examples twice. Again, look for that whole grain on your label. Okay, and then those recommendations also talked about starchy and non-starchy vegetables. And so again, the recommendation is to include, eat a diet high in all types of plant foods, including at least 5 servings of a variety of non-starchy vegetables and fruit a day. So here are some examples of some starchy vegetables: corn, white potatoes, sweet potatoes, green peas, beets, acorn squash, butternut squash, turnips, carrots, but they don't recommend not eating them because they are high in antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals. And then the non-starchies are your black olives, purple cabbage, eggplant, arugula, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, celery, cabbage, red peppers, tomatoes, summer squash. And they are all very high in fiber. And then, as Brenda mentioned about your taste buds changing, I used to hate vegetables. I hated them. And if someone said Brussels sprouts, I'd be like, oh, and now I love them. And so your taste buds do change. And the more that you eat, the more plant foods you incorporate into your diet, the more you're going to crave those things. So don't give up once after trying it. Maybe try something again, or also the way it's cooked or fixed, it can make a big difference too on if you like it or not. Okay, that recommendation number 4, limit consumption of fast foods and other processed foods high in fat, starches, or sugars. And limiting these can help us control calorie intake and maintaining a healthy weight, which was also their recommendation number 1, if you remember. So we're going to look. And then the goal, limit consumption of processed foods high in fat, starches, or sugars, including fast foods and many pre-prepared dishes. So that's where we're getting into those processed foods, which are snacks, bakery goods, desserts, and candy. So here's another test for you. How many grams of fat do you think are in a medium Big Mac meal?
Yeah, they're saying C, which I gotta agree with.
Yeah, they're right. Okay, so, and then in addition to fat, of those 43 fat grams, 13 grams are saturated fat, which are the bad fats. It has 80 milligrams of cholesterol and only 7 grams of fiber, which isn't coming from the hamburger. It's probably coming from the bun, the lettuce, the tomato, the pickles that are on there. And actually the French fries probably have some too, the potatoes. Okay, what about a grilled chicken, medium grilled chicken meal? And I'm not picking on McDonald's. It was just Calorie King has all this information. So. How many grams of fat in this meal?
All right, we have a few people saying B, so maybe it's better.
Okay. It's a little better. It's 30. However, okay, and then the saturated fat's better. So if you remember, the Big Mac had 13 grams of saturated fat, and this one has 5 grams. However, this is which was such a surprise to me. The Big Mac meal has 80 grams of cholesterol. The grilled chicken has 95 milligrams, excuse me. The grilled chicken has 95 milligrams of cholesterol. So it's got more cholesterol than the Big Mac meal, and it has 6 grams of fiber. Okay, what about the filet of fish meal? Oops, sorry, let me give you some options here.
We got a a C or a B. I would guess C because that tends to be the pattern here.
Correct.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
yeah. So yes, it's got 34 grams of fat, of which 6 are saturated. So it's fairly comparable to your chicken sandwich. However, it is the lowest by almost half in cholesterol. So it has 45 milligrams of cholesterol versus 80 in the Big Mac and 95 in the chicken sandwich. And then it has 6 grams of fiber. So the fillet of fish is lowest in saturated fat, lowest in cholesterol. The chicken is lowest in fat, but has the most cholesterol. And the Big Mac has the most fat and the most saturated fat. All right.
How about you said that goes with Coca-Cola? Does they have a lot of sugar in it? Or did it have anything?
The Coke would have sugar, but I really didn't even look at the sugar. I was just looking at the fat. And I can tell you too, because some people might say, oh, it's the fries. So I did break out the fries. The fries have 15 grams of fat. 2 of those are saturated, no cholesterol, and 4 grams of fiber. So there's most of the fiber in those meals is coming from those fries. And then you add on the lettuce and probably a little bit in the bun and the tomato. So sorry, I did not look at the sugar, but yes, it would depend. Like if they, especially if they had the regular Coke, it would have a lot of sugar in it. Okay, that number 5 recommendation is, and we're going to spend some time on this one, limit consumption of red and processed meat. So eat no more than moderate amounts of red meat, such as beef, pork, and lamb, and eat little, if any, processed meat. So when they say limit your portions, they're saying 3 servings per week, 3 per week. So a lot of people eat 3 per day. So 3 per meat, which is a total of about 12 to 18 ounces. So again, some people might have an 18-ounce steak. So there's your servings for the week. And then consume very little, if any, processed meat. So here, if we look at examples of red meat, again, beef, pork, lamb, examples of processed meat would be ham, bacon, hot dogs, and the American Institute of Cancer Research, there's strong evidence that it increases our risk of colon cancer. And then a couple other studies that I looked at was this one for esophageal cancer, that red processed and chicken with the skin had a positive association with esophageal cancer. And then for colorectal cancer and breast cancer, here are a couple of studies I found. One showed that increased fish and reduced red and processed meats. And you guys, I have you guys over me. I think it would reduce the risk of colon cancer. And then increasing fatty fish and reduce the risk of breast cancer. And then they did say that adherence to the Mediterranean diet, which Brenda mentioned a bit, and we will go into that a little bit more detail, had protective factors for colorectal and breast cancers.
Hey, when you're defining processed meat, is that somebody asked in the chat, is that going to include like a hot dog?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Ham, bacon, hot dogs. Yes.
All processed meats. Okay.
Yes. Yep. Unfortunately. Sorry. Okay. And then Brenda and I, when we were chatting about, let's talk about, it's grilling season. And so I'm going to bring up some of the information that's out there on HCAs and PAHs, which are chemicals formed when muscle meat, so meat, is cooked at high temperatures like grilling and barbecuing. This study, which was a laboratory experiment in animals, and they did feed them very high doses, and this study is not definitive in human populations, but what they did find was the HCAs were associated with tumors of the breast, colon, liver, skin, lung, prostate, and other organs. And the PAHs were associated with leukemias and tumors of the GI tract and lungs. So, and then here's a little bit more. I was trying to dig more into it. And this was MD Anderson, something that they had said they had a PhD that was saying that they find that red meat cooked at high temperatures is associated with cancers of the colon, rectum, pancreas, kidney, and bladder. And then this was a population based study that I looked at with people who had breast cancer, who had had a first primary breast cancer, to see if these increased your risks for recur or death from breast cancer. And what they found was high intake, those that had high intake of grilled and barbecued or smoked meat had that may increase your mortality of dying from breast cancer. So,
Hey, Jeannie,
yes.
I had a couple of questions come through the chat. So somebody asked about a specific brand of hot dog, a Hebrew hot dog, thinking that maybe that particular brand isn't processed.
I don't know. I doubt it. I mean, unless it's a veggie dog, it would be
Yeah, I think
processed.
I think they're kosher, so maybe the higher quality of meat. But I think that making a hot dog is. I don't know. I don't know about that either. So
Yeah.
And then Sylvia asked about grilled vegetables. Do those also have the same
No,
cancer risk?
they do not. They do not. Great question, Sylvia. So no, they did not find that with like veggie burgers or grilled vegetables. So here's some tips. So if you really say, Jeannie, I have to have my meat. It's summer. I love to grill. We eat meat. Or well, you maybe don't want to grill it, but here are some ways that you, if you have to eat meat, some of the ways you can reduce your risk of the carcinogens in those meat is low moist, cooking it low with low moist heat. So boiling, poaching, steaming, stewing, simmering, slow cooking in a crock pot. And then if you are like, if you really do have to have that steak on the grill, avoid it well done. And if you can do it rare or medium, and then avoid exposure to the open flame, and then avoid prolonged cooking at high temps. And then another source said continuously turning the meat on the grill can help. And then, or maybe microwave it a bit prior to putting it on the grill. And then removing the charred portions can help a bit. And then also they, one of the sites said refrain from using the gravy of the meat droppings because you're getting those carcinogens that are dropping in there. So these are just tips I found. I don't eat meat anymore. So, but here's some of my go-tos that when my husband grills, I buy the portobello tops and this balsamic grilled, it was actually a recipe for grilled skewers, but I use the marinade, marinate my mushroom tops, and then he grills them for me and I eat it just like a hamburger and they're delicious. I put some, tomatoes, your onions, your ketchup, your whatever you would dress your hamburger with. Doing your grilled veggies, you can do the skewers, you can do them. Now they have all sorts of like, I don't know, like a little, or tray, some are round that are made for grilling veggies. And then for hot dog lovers, if you've never tried a carrot dog, I highly recommend you try a carrot dog. I can't tell the difference. And what you do is, so you boil your hot dogs first and get them, so you can kind of stick a fork in them or a knife in them. And then there's a marinade and it includes like some liquid smoke, some mustard. And this is the recipe and they're delicious. So what I do is, in fact, I've got some in my fridge now. I boiled up a bunch. So, well, first you got to peel your carrots, peel them first. And then you kind of try to find the ones that are about the size of a hot dog if you want to put it in a bun and then boil it. Then you marinate it. And I just leave mine in the fridge in the marinade sauce. And then when I want a hot dog, I'll take it out, I'll warm it up, put it in a bun, put my all I like on it is ketchup, but they're delicious. So you can still eat some of these things. And obviously you can eat the other stuff if you want, it's your choice. But if you want to really reduce your risk and try these, I highly recommend carrot dogs. And there's a ton of recipes out there. All you got to do is Google carrot dog and you'll find all sorts of recipes. So they are delicious, highly recommend them. So when I tell people that I don't eat meat, people will be like, where do you get your protein? And actually my comeback is usually like, well, where do you get your fiber? Because that's, again, what most of us are lacking in. But According to the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, the amount of fiber we need is really, they say 0.36 times our weight is the approximate grams per day. So like a 140-pound person would need about 50 grams of fiber. And for some reason, you know, anymore in our standard American diet, we seem to think that we need twice our weight and, you know, twice that in fiber or in protein. And again, go with your physician, because there may be a certain reason why you need more protein. For example, I will be having surgery here in July, and my doctor asked if I would do protein supplement. She's like, you need more protein to heal. You know, sometimes older adults, your doctor may recommend you eat more protein. So again, go with, if your physician or your dietitian tells you you need more, then you go with what they say. Benefits of plant protein. I mean, you can, and the thing is even like greens and stuff, they have protein in them, but not as much as some things. But benefits of plant protein include, they have fiber, which you're not going to get again in your meat. They don't cause the HDAs and PAHs, and they may also help reduce your LDL cholesterol, where the others, like meat's going to raise your cholesterol. And here's just some examples of some days of 3 meals and how to get 50 grams of fiber in a day. So your oatmeal with fruit, almonds, chia seeds, vegetable hummus that now Brenda likes, brown rice, almonds, chickpeas. Then you go to your veggie tofu scramble. Someone asked for some ideas for breakfast and protein. Veggie tofu scramble, I love that. It's I make it usually once a week or every other week. And there's all sorts of, again, recipes out there for that. Black bean and corn salad, pasta primavera. So these are just some great ideas of how can you get protein through plants. All right, so I told you all these things that here, like, shouldn't eat this, or, you know, you should eat this. So are you like really confused? Yes.
Before you move on too much, I had a couple of things come in the chat. So I think you might have addressed this a little bit, but like, is the protein from red meats different than plants from the protein from plants outside of the cholesterol?
Different. Well, I don't know as if the protein itself is different, but you're getting a lot of the other things in, like you're getting the saturated fats and cholesterols in your meat that you're not getting in your plants.
Okay.
If that helps.
And then somebody was kind of curious about your recipe for those the grilled carrot things. Have you like refrigerated them? Do you know how long they last in like, the refrigerator?
Yes, great question. Yes, I do refrigerate them. So in fact, the ones I have in there now, I think I made on Sunday. And I still, you know, that's the other thing. A lot of the plant stuff, it lasts. I just, if it doesn't smell bad or something, I still eat it. So yeah, I've ate on them this week. So yes, sorry, I do refrigerate them after. So once
and
they cool down.
In the refrigerator. Cool.
Yep.
Right, awesome.
Yep. All right. So this is from the Physicians Committee on Responsible Medicine. So it is just showing the things on the right that increases our risks of cancer. So things where it goes to the left, they say it decreases. So for example, they say 2 glasses of milk a day can increase our risk of prostate cancer by 60%. Dairy protein can increase, again, prostate cancer. Let's see. Processed meat. So if we look at bacon, 50 grams, which is like 2 slices of bacon a day, could increase our risk of colorectal cancer by up to 21%. 121 grams of red meat per day could increase our risk of colorectal cancer by 28%. But let's go down to the bottom half. These are the things that decrease our risk. Cruciferous vegetables can decrease our risk of breast cancer by that's colorectal cancer by 18%. High intake of fruits can decrease our risk of breast cancer by 11%. Those orange vegetables can increase our risk of breast cancer by 19%. Natural soy foods, and we're going to go into this a little bit more because there was a question about that, can actually decrease our risk of breast cancer by 30%. And that goes to, when I was diagnosed, you know, people said, oh, stay away from soy, stay away from soy. That is not what the research shows anymore. So, and then when we go to GI cancers, you can see tomato products can decrease our risk. The standard American diet, Western diet, can increase our risk by 200%. And again, it looks like they're showing a Big Mac there. And I used to love Big Macs. I'll be truthful. And then just the overall healthy lifestyle can reduce our risk of all cancers. So again, these are cancer fighting foods. And how are we doing on time?
We're about 10 till.
Okay. Ooh, so we only have 10 minutes left.
Yeah, if we want to leave like about 15 minutes for questions, I think we're going to get some questions. So,
okay. So this website is very interactive. So it's the American Institute of Cancer Research. And so it's AICR.org. But then if you go to like cancer prevention, this particular site, if you click on each of these foods, these are the cancer fighting foods, it will give you more information. So it's very interactive. You can click on each thing and it will tell you what nutrients that food contains, and it will give you recommendations on how many servings you should consume a day or a week or whatever. So this website is just awesome. It's so interactive and they have so much information. I highly recommend going to this. If we had time, I would have pulled it up. Okay, so the American Institute of Cancer Research has what they call the New American Plate. So this is one of the things, like, again, okay, if you're really that standard American diet and you're looking at this plant-based diet thinking, oh my God, they are worlds apart and how am I going to get there? And you're right, they can be worlds apart. But AICR gives recommendations for how to transition. So your standard American plate might have 8 to 12 ounces of red meat, might have, the potatoes aren't bad, but the butter on the potatoes and maybe peas. But then if you look at the next plate, it's cut the red meat down to 4 to 6 ounces. And it includes green beans with spices and herbs and whole grains. So they're including that whole grain brown rice. And then you move down to stage 3 and you've switched from red meat to fish. And so 3 ounces of fish. You're including a variety of vegetables and whole grains. And then you can even go further to making more like a bowl and making that meat just a little bit like more of a side to it. So again, they have recommendations on this website to how to transition. Mediterranean diet shows up a lot in research as a healthy diet just overall. And it shows up in diets for heart disease, for cancers, for diabetes. So in the US News, it is the #1 best diet overall. It's the #1 rating for healthy diet for this year. And it's tied #1 for heart disease, and it's #1 for diabetes. And what it recommends is daily consumption of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, healthy fats, which would be like your avocados are healthy fats. Olive oil is a healthy fat. However, when you're looking at oils, it's also, you get all your fiber and stuff stripped out of there. So if you really have to have oil, olive oil might be the way to go, but you also can get your fats without that oil and not as much calories if you're needing to lose weight. Weekly intake of fish, poultry, beans, and eggs. So there's your protein under the Mediterranean diet. They do say moderate portions of dairy products. And then again, limit red meat. Here we go. Sounds like a broken record, right? And then healthy fats, monounsaturated. Again, that's like your avocados. So if you look at this, it's primarily plant-based. So all the meals are built around plants. The other diet that we hear a lot about is the DASH diet. And this is one that if you've been diagnosed with heart disease, your doctor may recommend the DASH diet. And let's see, I wonder if I can move you guys. There we go. Sorry, you guys are over so they tied as #2 for the best diet overall, tied for #2 as healthy eating, for healthy eating diet, number 3 for heart health, and number 5 for diabetes. And what it says is they encourage fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean protein, low fat dairy, and sodium less than 23 milligrams per day. It's high in potassium, calcium, protein, fiber. It discourages, again, foods high in saturated fats, full fat dairy foods, tropical oils, sugar sweetened beverages, and sweets. So if we look at it again, it's primarily plant-based. Not all, but primarily. All right, myth or fact? Eating mostly plant foods reduces your risk, but organic foods are not proven to be better.
What? Yeah, people are saying true, fact
Okay.
for this one.
Absolutely, you are correct. And I remember, so after my treatment and stuff, I specifically remember this moment sitting in my oncologist office going, okay, should I eat all organic? And she's like, if you want to, I'm not going to tell you that's bad. That's great. But she's like, the research doesn't show that it has to be organic and it costs more. So I can't, tell you that, yeah, you have to eat organic. She's like, if you really want to do something organic, I would recommend, if you drink milk, to do organic milk. But so, it's kind of organic good. Absolutely, it's good. But it's better to get the fruits and vegetables in. It's better to get them in, instead of saying, oh, I can't afford that because it's organic, or I don't have access to it because I can't find the organic. Eat the regular. It's better to get those nutrients in, get those foods in. All right, myth or fact? Research shows coffee can reduce the risk of cancer.
That's true.
True? Yes,
Yeah,
correct. It is true. Fact. All right, myth or fact? Alcoholic drinks of any kind raise our risk of cancer.
Yeah, fact.
Correct.
Sadly.
Oh, yeah, it is sad, but well, I don't mind, but okay. Myth or fact? Soy foods are safe for women and provide fiber, which is a cancer fighter.
You're gonna say fact, but I don't believe it.
Fact.
Correct.
Fact.
Okay, and so so again, the research since like 2009 has all showed that soy is not harmful to us, and that those when they've studied different populations, those populations that eat more soy have a much lower instance of breast cancers or of cancers in general. And then Dr. Funk. So one of the resources, I have a resource list for you, but one of the resources that, oops, sorry, if I can get this in here. Sorry, gosh darn. Here, well, it is a book called Breast, the Owner's Manual. And it is written by Dr. Christy Funk. Oh, there we go. That's better. Who is a breast surgeon. She actually did, she was Cheryl Crow's doctor and also Angelina Jolie's. And this book is awesome. And it is all research based. She cites all of her resources. There are, golly, lots of pages of resources. So this whole back of this book starting is all of her references. So she's got all of her references cited. And she talks about there being 2 different types of estrogen receptors. And my cancer was estrogen and progesterone positive as well. So I understand and hear those concerns. But what she says is there are estrogen alpha receptors and estrogen beta receptors. And the alpha receptors are those that signal cancer cells to multiply and divide. And the beta cells exert cancer and or exert estrogen as an anti-estrogen effect. And so she said the natural estrogens love the ER alphas. So those estrogens that we make that made our cancer grow, that those love the alpha, the ER alpha cells. But the soy phytoestrogens, that she said that they bind 1600% more to the beta cells. So when they bind to those beta, ER beta cells, that the soy actually blocks estrogen from sitting in the, she calls it the alpha chair. So that's what she says. The other resources I've found, any of the research I've heard, another person that I would recommend if you like podcast is there's the Exam Room podcast that is through the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. And there are several podcasts on there of Dr. Barnard and talking about specifically about soy. And so that's another great place that's full of resources, but their podcasts are great if you like podcast. So I would check out some of those resources and do some of your own research. You need to be comfortable with your choices. All right. So how else? I gave you some ideas to get started. What are some other? These are some healthy swaps from the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. So maybe instead of meat, do beans and lentils. They don't cost much. They're protein packed in like in veggie burgers. They're good. Oh, and one question that often comes up are like the Impossible burgers or the Beyond burgers, and are they healthy? And healthy, I don't know. They're full of fat. They have a lot of oil and things in them, so they are full of fat. Are they good? Are they better than the meat option? I would say yes, and they're a great transition. So if you really love hamburgers and you really need that, it's a great transition to kind of move to those. And then then if you can move down the line, that's great too. And you know what? If I'm out somewhere and the only option I have is fast food, you know what I'll do? I'll drive through Burger King and get the Impossible Burger if I have to. So for milk, cheese, and yogurt, so there's the non-dairy options like almond milk, oatmeal, soy milk. I think there's cashew milks now. There's a ton of non-dairy options. They even make cheeses. And again, are those cheeses, I wouldn't necessarily call them a health food, but again, if you really have to have cheese, that's a great example. And so speaking of cheese, and this is information that Dr. Barnard that I told you about from the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. And he talks about this on one of his Exam Room podcasts, because cheese was the hardest thing for me to give up. And I still do eat it once in a while, but I try not to. And he explains, and actually there's other lifestyle medicine professionals that explain this too. And you can take this or leave it. It's totally up to you. I just want to share it with you. So that when cows give birth, or when actually with milk, this is with milk, but cheese comes from milk. And so for a cow to be able to produce milk, they have to have given birth, right? And just like us females, when you give birth, your hormones, your estrogen, your progesterone, your female hormones are raised. And so that milk, the milk we get, even though it may be little bits that come through, we're getting some of that cow's estrogen, the cow's female hormones. And then in cheese, it's even more condensed. So just food for thought. Okay, instead of eggs, maybe switch out for tofu. And by the way, I know you might say, ew, tofu, and tofu really doesn't have a taste. It brings on the taste of other things. But if you like that egg flavor, there is something called black salt, although it's pink in color, but it's called black salt. And it has that sulfur egg taste. So like one of the things when I learned how to eat avocado toast, I never had it. Like it's only been within the last 5 years, 6 years probably, that I had ever ate it. And in the place that I used to get it from served, like you could get an egg with it and on top of it, and you could do it over easy or whatever. So that flavor for me on the avocado toast. So what I do now is I take a piece of whole grain bread, toast it. I take an avocado, usually about a fourth or half of an avocado, spread it on my toast, and then I put the black salt on, and it tastes like it did when I had an egg with it. So that black salt, although again, it's pink in color, if you're going to look for it, it'll be pink in color, has that egg flavor. Fish and poultry, maybe switch out for some whole grains. And then these, if you want to be like, okay, I really need something to follow. Here are some things. So the American Institute of Cancer Research that we've been talking about all day, they have a Healthy 10 challenge, and it incorporates exercise and nutrition. So it's like a 10-week challenge. It's free. The Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine that I've been talking about, they have a free app that's called a 21-day vegan. And it's a free app you can get for your phone or your computer, whatever. Full Plate Living. This again is another free, it's like a free nutrition program. And what their goal is, again, fiber. Their goal is to get 75% of your plate as fiber. So it's called fullplateliving.org. The Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine has a Take the 4-Week challenge so their Let's Beat Breast Cancer. And then Plant Strong, they have a 7-day challenge also that is free. And one thing I used to have a slide, I took it out, but so people will say, okay, so are you vegan? So yes, I am vegan, but well, really I'm whole food plant-based. So what's the difference? Whole food plant-based is vegan, but vegan is not necessarily whole food plant-based, because you can buy all this junk food that is vegan, all this processed food that is vegan. So vegan is really just taking out your meats and your dairy. Also, a lot of vegans and vegetarians do it for ethical reasons, which is great. I have changed my diet for health reasons. And some of that ethical piece is I'm kind of leaning towards some of that now, but it's still, for me, looking at nutrition and trying, I dug more into, I've always been interested in nutrition and exercise and wellness, and I've taught worksite health promotion for years. But after having cancer, I really wanted to look for what is the healthiest diet? What can I be doing? There's so many things out of our control, but I can control what I put in my mouth. So what can I do? What do I have the power to do to reduce my risk of cancer, to reduce my risk of chronic diseases? And going through all sorts of things, like someone brought up some of the fad diets. I tried for a very brief time, oh goodness, what was his name? It's keto based. Oh golly, I can't remember the doctor's name. They're frozen foods. And I did it mainly with the frozen foods, which number one is the frozen dinners processed. So it didn't last long anyways. So that's why I really dug. And when I got introduced to lifestyle medicine, I was like, oh my gosh. And then the whole food plant-based diet, the research is so strong in eating whole foods. It's out there and it doesn't have bad side effects. I mean, it's not like you're trying to take a supplement or something, or something that could cause something else. And the one diet is good for all. So you don't have to have a diet for cancer. You don't have to have one for heart disease. You don't have to have one for diabetes. It is, when you're eating whole food plant-based, it is good for all of those things. So that's why I really dug into it, was for the health reasons, not the ethical reasons. So Dr. Funk that I talked about, these are her, well, first on the left, Dr. Greger. So he has an app called the Daily Dozen. He also has a website called, it's nutritionfacts.org. And so Dr. Greger is a physician who, his grandma, when he was 10 years old, his grandma was 65. She had such bad heart disease that her doctor had sent her home basically to die and said, there's nothing else I can do for you. We've done all we can do. Well, she found I think she went to the Pritikin program, and she lived to be like 96 years old. And she changed her diet to whole food plant-based, incorporated some physical activity, and lived, like 30 more years. And Dr. Greger, as a kid, he loved his grandma, and he decided then he wanted to be a doctor and he wanted to focus on nutrition. So his website, nutritionfacts.org, he looks at the nutritional research, and then he will actually explain it to us. And he'll explain, okay, how, he looks at the methods. What methods did they use to do the study? And so again, if you'd like to listen and dig into things, and you can search. So if you're searching for something special like soy and cancer, he's got some blurbs on it, and his blurbs are only like 4 minutes, usually 4 or 5 minutes. So, but he also has this app called the Daily Dozen. And so you can mark off your foods. And these are the things that he recommends every day, like 3 servings of beans, a serving of berries, 3 servings of fruit, serving cruciferous vegetables, 2 servings of grains, 2 of other vegetables, 1 of flaxseed, 1 of nuts, 3 grains, and so on. And then Dr. Christy Funk that I told you about, these are her 14, she calls it 14 favorite Eat to Beat Cancer. This is on her website too, which again, there's another handout for you that has a bunch of links to it. And so these are the things that she recommends getting in every day. Cruciferous, and these are servings. So on the numbers are the servings. So some of the things she adds here is she's real big on green tea. Supplements, again, the only thing, and I'm not going to give you amounts because I cannot prescribe, but the one thing that every lifestyle medicine, every plant-based person will tell you is if you're going to eat a totally plant-based diet, the one supplement that you do need is B12, because we don't get that in a lot of things. And it's not that it comes from meat, it comes from bacteria but we typically get it when we eat meat. So B12, but otherwise you need to talk to your doctor or your nutritionist to find out if you need it and how much you would need.
Hey, Jeannie.
Yes.
We're coming up on about 11:15.
Okay. Here's just a few little reminders. You can't out exercise a bad diet. A lot of times people think, oh, just exercise more. We have the superpower to either feed or fight disease with every bite we take. Strive for progress, not perfection. You don't have to go 100% all in. Even if you start with 1 meal that's plant-based, like Brenda talked about, or one day, and then move into 1 day, and then move on. And even if you get there and you're primarily plant-based and you have a pizza once in a while, or that's got cheese on it or whatever, just strive for progress, not perfection. And that's it. Other question. Oh, wait, we had some other questions. Let me answer those that came in.
Mhm.
Somebody asked about idea recipes for a single individual. There is one cookbook called Happy Herbivore, Light and Lean. Happy Herbivore, Light and Lean. And she has a whole bunch of the Happy Herbivore. Her name is Lindsay Nixon, sorry, Nixon. She has a lot of cookbooks, but this particular one is the only one I have, but there's a lot of single serving recipes in there. And then there's, I put a ton on your resource list too. There are a lot of different websites of some good places that have recipes. Somebody asked about sugar. Tell us about sugar. I know the body needs glucose and makes it if you don't eat it, but how can we still enjoy life without making our diet only carrots? Well, hopefully you got more ideas than just carrots from what we talked about. But again, if you can switch your sugars out for fruits, get your sweet, get the sweet out of your fruits. That's good. Someone asked about recommended amount of meat. We talked about that. We talked about the soy. What about trendy diets, such as gluten-free, keto, paleo, Whole30? Again, I would go with what the American Institute of Cancer Research says. They look at the most up-to-date research, or like the Mediterranean diet is usually a good all-around healthy diet. Breakfast, someone asked about protein, and one of my recommendations is tofu scramble. Hopefully you got some meatless options that include protein ideas from what we talked about. Hopefully you got what foods we should stay away from. And hopefully there was a question on what does the research tell us about what we eat and if it affects whether we get cancer. Hopefully we answered that. And then what to look for in the food label. Great question. Ingredients. So look at the ingredients, and again, if you want those whole grains, you want real foods in your ingredients. If you're eating a lot of whole food, you're not going to have a lot of ingredients actually, because you're going to be eating a whole apple or, your whole foods that way. I usually look at fat and fiber when I look at it, and then, somebody said I finished treatment with chemo and radiation over 6 months ago, but my white blood cell count is still below normal. What foods might help? And again, I am not a dietitian. When I looked this up, what I was finding was they were saying that zinc could help with white blood counts, and some of the foods that are higher in zinc are like your beans, your nuts, lentils, beans, soy. Okay, I think that was all the questions that it came in.
I did have a few things in the chat for you, Jeannie, and one of them was from Sue specifically. She was asking about like the suggested amount of fat in one of those like meat substitute things, like a Morningstar. Like, do you try to look for one that has under 10 grams of fat, like a range of fat that you would look for in one of those products?
That's a great question, and I don't really have a good answer for that. I'm sorry, I don't. And one thing you could look at too is like look at the total fat and then saturated, because the saturated are your bad fats. So a lot of times they may have a lot of fat, but the saturated may be lower, which would mean it's probably like olive oil. So at least if it's going to have the fat and it's more those mono and polyunsaturated, it's better.
Yeah, it says 1 gram of saturated fat and then just 7 total fat. So I think that's probably
that's probably not horrible.
Yeah. She also asked a specific question about, you were talking about that brownie recipe all the way back at the beginning. You were talking about brownies with black beans. Do you drain those beans first?
No, usually what I did, I was just pour them in. What I did was, I usually just put it in and, I think what I actually did was I pour the whole can in, mix it with my blender, and then stir it into the mix so that it's smooth. You could look that up too. I think that actually initiated as I think Weight Watchers had that as a recipe somewhere along the line. There's also, you can find them without using all the, the sugary mixes too, but you can find recipes. There's a ton of good recipes out there.
Somebody said that they dislike tap water and asked if like distilled water is okay to drink.
I don't know. You can do like the filtered waters, like some of the Britas, you can get some of those pitchers and stuff. Or I don't know if you would like it better if you maybe put some, like infuse some fruit in it.
Somebody asked about ALK positive lung cancer and nutrition.
I don't know anything specific.
Okay.
Sorry. It would, but like the World Cancer Research Fund, again, they have a very interactive website, and you can look at by cancer types too, and the recommendations that they give. So both of those websites, the American Institute of Cancer Research, which is AICR.org, or the World Cancer Research Fund, which is WCRF.org. Those websites are excellent and have a ton of interactive things on them.
And then Jeannie has been talking a lot about this resource page and these websites. And I want everyone to know this presentation and this resource list will be emailed to all of you after the presentation, probably go out to you all on Monday. So if you are scrambling to write down like these websites that she's saying, I'm going to send everyone an email that has this information on there for you.
Yeah, I can.
So-
Do you want me to give them a sneak peek of the
Yeah.
resource page? I have
Yeah.
it right here. So yeah, this is like the resource page that I have, which has those challenges on it that I gave you. A bunch of different recipe websites, which again, these aren't all of them. These are just some of them that I've used, and like some books. Here's that book by Dr. Funk, and then the fiber ones. This is Dr. Greger, the one who does nutritionfacts.org. If you're a diabetic, highly recommend Mastering Diabetes. And then other websites, and then some of the apps that I talked about. So that's what's on your resource page.
Yes, absolutely. And then I think we got all of the questions out of the chat. I do appreciate everyone's patience. I know we went a little bit over,
Sorry.
but there's just so much information that we really wanted to give you. So thank you all for hanging out with us, for taking some time out of your Saturday morning. And again, Jeannie, thank you so much for being with us today and for all of the information that you gave us. Again, this presentation was recorded. It will be going up on YouTube. So if you wanted to watch anything again, or if you wanted to share this with somebody, that link will be available soon, as well as this research page, and then all of the things that we've talked about today. So you will all be able to share that, and you have that information for you. All right.
I hope it was helpful, and hopefully you learned something.
Yeah, absolutely. And then again, Jeannie has like a wellness, she's a lifestyle wellness coach. So if anyone is interested in lifestyle coaching, you can find Jeannie. Do you have your like email or any like information for your business on
Oh goodness,
that
I don't
resource
think I
page?
put, you know what? I don't think I did put it on there,
Oh,
but
well,
that was kind of silly, wasn't it?
Yeah. come
You
on, Jeannie,
could
want something to
email
note? Anyway, we
me.
will add
Yeah,
that before we
we
send
will,
it out.
yeah.
So absolutely.
Good idea.
Anyway, again, thank everybody so much for coming. We really appreciate your time. And again, thank you so much, Jeannie. You guys have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next month for our next Create Your Best Life. All right. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, Emma.
Jeannie, I'm going to go ahead and end this thing now. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Fantastic. All right. Bye, guys.